Tokyo DisneySea is just so special that it deserves its own video. And welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Maria. So recently on my channel, I made a video talking about my experience when I visited Tokyo Disneyland way back in 2018. When I visited Tokyo, I spent 2 days at Disneyland and 1 day at the park DisneySea. I didn't want the Tokyo Disneyland video to be too long, so rather than making one ginormous video for the Tokyo Disney Resort overall, I decided to make a separate video for Tokyo Disneyland and then a separate one for DisneySea. Tokyo DisneySea is also just such an incredible park that I really felt like it deserved its own video overall. So if you haven't watched my video on Tokyo Disneyland yet, I will tag it in the video above, so be sure to go check it out so you can catch up. Alright, so I think I'll just jump in with a little bit of background on the Tokyo DisneySea park. If you're a Disney Parks fan, you'll probably know that DisneySea is known as one of the most unique Disney parks around the world. It's truly unlike any of the rest. DisneySea is made up of 7 unique lands, which include the Mediterranean Harbor, which is the main entrance to the park, as well as the American Waterfront, which is home to the Duffy and Friends characters. So overall, each land has a real adventurous vibe to it. It feels kind of like you're in an old-fashioned pirate movie or something like that. Everything just feels very ancient and you're on a big exciting adventure. It's once again just one of Tokyo's ways of making everything go above and beyond and just larger than life. When you arrive at the Tokyo Disney Resort, you actually end up taking a monorail from the entrance over to DisneySea. Disney monorails are my favorite form of Disney transportation, but honestly, the Tokyo Disneyland ones were just so cool and different. Unlike the sort of sleek monorails that you would find in Walt Disney World, the monorails at Tokyo Disney are adorable. Everything is themed super well. The windows and handlebars are shaped like Mickey Mouse himself. I personally didn't get to ride one of the really well themed ones. I had kind of a classic monorail, but now they do have monorails that are themed after Duffy and Friends characters as well as Mickey and Minnie, I believe. So those ones are really, really cute. So something really cool that was going on when we visited Tokyo DisneySea that year was the Pixar Playtime celebration. So similar to the Frozen celebration that was going on in Tokyo Disneyland that I talked about in my last video, the Pixar celebration going on featured a lot of really cool Pixar decorations all throughout the park, as well as some photo opportunities and other cool things like that. So before I get talking about all the exciting things that I did in the park, I did want to do a little bit of a disclaimer. So as I also mentioned in my previous video, unfortunately my mom and I just had bad luck in the parks because it was incredibly busy while we were there. In my last video, I also talked about how there were pros and cons to this, but in Disneyland it wasn't too bad because I like to kind of explain it this way, that Disneyland has a lot more rides than Tokyo DisneySea, so the crowds were kind of dispersed enough around all the different rides that you could go on, whereas at DisneySea, when there were only say maybe 8 or so, a handful of the really popular rides, the crowds would just go to all those little rides right there and the wait times would shoot up. So like I said, DisneySea has more of a handful of major rides, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that those major rides had wait times in the 200s and 300s all throughout the day. And unfortunately, I know they do now, but there was no app or anything to check the wait times of the rides. So my mom and I were literally just walking around the park, checking all the different major rides to see if the wait times had gone down, and more often than not, the wait times would go up. So unfortunately, this means that I did not get to go on a lot of the major rides of Tokyo DisneySea. I did get to go on a couple as well as some of the smaller attractions. But what I really enjoyed the most about my time in DisneySea was honestly just getting to explore it. In a bit, I'm going to be talking about the different lands, and honestly, all of them are so unique and there's so much to see and do and experience. So even though I didn't get to do a lot of the major attractions, just being there and exploring the park was honestly an amazing experience all on its own. So the very first thing we did in Tokyo DisneySea was check out the land Mysterious Island. So the Mysterious Island is kind of the hub of Tokyo DisneySea. It's at the center of the park, and actually the volcano on the Mysterious Island is actually DisneySea's park icon. The volcano is part of the attraction called Journey to the Center of the Earth. Journey to the Center of the Earth is one of Tokyo DisneySea's most popular attractions, and unfortunately this meant that the wait time for the attraction pretty much stayed within the 200 and 300 minute mark all day. I'm not even kidding, I took a picture of it because I was just so shocked. So while I did not get to ride the attraction, it was still really cool getting to see the volcano spew fire every now and then. Yeah, it really does that. One mysterious island attraction that my mom and I did get to do was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. We were able to snag an early morning fast pass for this ride, and it was super cool. If I were to compare it to another Disney attraction, just to kind of explain it to you guys better, it kind of reminded me of the Finding Nemo submarines that they have at the Disneyland Resort. It's basically like you go in this little capsule and then you dive 20,000 leagues under the sea, and looking out these little portholes, you get to see all the cool, creepy creatures. So I remember I saw lots of fish, some squid, there were even like weird mer people that I thought were aliens at first, but you know, it was fun. We also had a lot of fun that day just exploring Mysterious Island. I really found this area to be one of the coolest in DisneySea. It's like this ancient feel to it. Like it really feels like you're on this like mysterious harbor, and you know, there's like ancient stone rocks everywhere and like crumbling ruins. Like it's just so immersive and cool. So next, my mom and I went over to Mermaid Lagoon. I felt so at home in Mermaid Lagoon because everything was just a pastel wonderland. So Mermaid Lagoon is themed after mainly Ariel and her under the sea friends. Inside Mermaid Lagoon is King Triton's kingdom, where there are lots of different kind of like kiddie rides as well as a Little Mermaid show. I didn't explore too much of King Triton's kingdom because of course it was very busy, but I did really love exploring the outside of Mermaid Lagoon because everything was detailed so beautifully. I personally really loved finding these little hidden details in the kind of like seashell mosaics that they had. I found a few hidden Mickeys on the mosaic, as well as different pieces of glass that showed Ariel and her friends. All the beautiful colors of Mermaid Lagoon were just so pretty. I felt like I could have spent the whole day there, and it was just so much fun getting to explore it. So next is a land that I know many of you were excited for me to talk about, and that is the American Waterfront. So the American Waterfront was another one of my favorite lands in Tokyo DisneySea. It is home to some of the major attractions like Toy Story Mania, as well as Tower of Terror, both of which I did not get to ride because the wait times were once again around 200 minutes long all day. But why I personally really love the American Waterfront is because it is home to the Duffy and Friends characters. So I'm sure most of you have heard of Duffy the Disney Bear by now, but just in case you haven't, I'll explain him a little bit. So Duffy is a Disney Parks character, and basically his story is that Mickey Mouse was going on all these different adventures, and Minnie wanted to be able to make a friend for him that he could take with him on his adventures so he would never be lonely and he would always be loved. So Minnie made Duffy the Disney Bear for Mickey. So Duffy did come over to the American parks for a little bit, but unfortunately I don't think he was super popular because he didn't last here too long. However, something really exciting about Tokyo DisneySea is that it is the birthplace of the Duffy and Friends characters. Duffy and Friends are of course extremely popular over in the Asian parks, especially Tokyo, so getting to go to DisneySea was absolutely amazing because I am a big Duffy and Friends fan. So something I did not mention in my previous video about Tokyo Disneyland is that they did not have a single bit of merchandise for Duffy and Friends over at Disneyland. In our first day in Disneyland, I had actually asked a cast member because I was wondering where all the Duffy and Friends merchandise was, and they told me that it is all exclusively in DisneySea. So being in DisneySea was absolutely incredible because the merchandise was literally wall-to-wall Duffy and Friends. I did bring home a lot of the Duffy and Friends merchandise, and as I've said in my previous Tokyo videos, Tokyo Disneyland and DisneySea merchandise is out of this world. Everything is so creative and adorable, and there's just so much I wanted to buy. If you're interested in seeing the Disney merchandise that I brought home from Tokyo DisneySea and Disneyland, I do have a Disney International Parks merchandise haul that I will tag above. So along with all the Duffy and Friends merchandise, the American Waterfront also had a ton of Duffy and Friends decorations all over the place. The American Waterfront is kind of like a rustic feel of like old-time America. So there were these cute little white picket fences with Duffy and Friends decorations on them. My favorite character in the Duffy and Friends bunch is Shelly May, so getting to see her everywhere was so sweet. You could also meet Duffy and Shelly May at the American Waterfront, but of course their wait time was extremely long, so we did not jump in that line. I wasn't too upset about it though because I have previously met Duffy in Epcot and Shanghai, so it wasn't the end of the world, but it would have been fun. Another hidden gem that we found in the American Waterfront area was this small little cherry blossom sakura tree. My mom and I were really sad that when we visited Tokyo, we were missing sakura season, so getting to see just that one little tree just made us so happy. Finally, in the American Waterfront, my mom and I did go on one of the attractions. So in Tokyo Disneyland, there is of course a classic train that will take you around the park, but in Tokyo DisneySea, there is a boat that will take you around the park. So the boat is called the Tokyo DisneySea Transit Steamer Line. This attraction was so much fun because once again, we just got to have so many beautiful views of the park. And it was also really relaxing too. We had been on our feet for so long already, so it was nice just to sit back and just take in all the sights of Tokyo DisneySea. So now I'll talk a little bit about the Port Discovery area. Port Discovery is kind of like the nautical area of Tokyo DisneySea, it is home to the Nemo and Friends Sea Rider attraction, which of course had like a 100-minute wait all day. So we didn't do too much over there in the way of attractions, but we did get to try a lot of the fun treats. So forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but I tried one of the Ukiwa buns. So this snack was kind of like a sticky bun, but the fun thing about it was that it was shaped like a life preserver and the packaging made it look like it was a part of Donald Duck. So it was a hot sticky bun, and inside was, I think it was kind of like a shrimp mash with some like spices and things. I really liked the sticky bun, but I wasn't really a big fan of the filling, which was surprising because I normally really like seafood. I'm really glad I tried it though, because of course it's always fun to try new things, and it was just so adorable. Also in Port Discovery, my mom and I each got a Mickey-shaped churro. Now, I love Disney Parks churros, but this one was probably my favorite out of all the ones I've had around the world because it was Mickey-shaped, and everything's better Mickey-shaped after all. Should have mentioned this before my disclaimer, but the weather on our day in Tokyo DisneySea was also horrible. That's something that really drove me crazy and just made me feel like we were so unlucky, because I feel like normally on cold and rainy days in the Disney parks, the crowds will clear out, but even though the weather was horrible, we still had an insanely busy day. So yes, it was just rotten luck, but like I said, we made the best of it. Getting to have that hot Ukiwa bun as well as the Mickey-shaped churro, it was just, it hit the spot on that cold day. So next I will talk about the Arabian Coast land. Now, I think this is the land that my mom and I probably spent the most time in, but oddly enough, I have no pictures there. So very unfortunate, but I will try to describe it to you guys the best I can. Or better yet, just go look up pictures yourself. I'm sorry. So the Arabian Coast is home to Agrabah and the characters of Aladdin. There were attractions such as Jasmine's flying carpets, as well as a genie carousel, which was very cool. One of the attractions in the Arabian Coast, however, was my and my mom's favorite because it was kind of like a hidden gem. I say hidden gem because it must be underrated in Tokyo DisneySea, because while all the other major attractions had 200-minute long waits, this one was pretty much a walk-on every time. So my mom and I did it multiple times in a row. This attraction is called Sinbad's Storybook Voyage. Now this ride was kind of like one of Disney's classic story dark rides, but of course being in Tokyo DisneySea, it was just larger than life. So before riding the ride, I had previously never heard of the character Sinbad, but basically the ride is about a character Sinbad, and he is a sailor and he's going off on all these big adventures and leaving his Arabian coast city. And he also has a really adorable tiger sidekick called Shandu. Shandu was the best part. So Sinbad goes on all sorts of different adventures on his voyage. He comes across a giant, he comes across mermaids, as well as a monstrous whale. Now the animatronics in this ride were absolutely amazing. The giant especially was incredible. It was of course giant, so it was really, really cool. The song also features a theme song called Compass of Your Heart, and something that I learned about it that was really cool is that it was composed by Disney legend Alan Menken. So yeah, Sinbad's Storybook Voyage was so amazing. My favorite part, like I said, was Shandu. It was so cute because in each scene there would be the cute little tiger sidekick, and they would have him like pop up somewhere different and fun. So it was just really, really cute. So the last land I'm going to talk to you guys about is Lost River Delta. Lost River Delta kind of reminded me of like an Aztec Adventureland, if that makes sense. Earlier in the day, my mom and I were able to snag a fast pass for the Indiana Jones Adventure Temple of the Crystal Skull ride. So this Indiana Jones attraction was pretty similar to the one that they have in Disneyland in California, but I did not mind one bit because I love that attraction and I hadn't been on it in years. So after waiting all day of mainly just getting to do smaller attractions, it was really fun getting to go on one of the more major attractions in DisneySea. Also in Lost River Delta, my mom and I tried another treat. We both tried the Mickey and Minnie ice bars. Now these ice bars were of course so adorably shaped like Mickey and Minnie, and they also had really fun and unique flavors. So Mickey was a tropical fruit flavor, and Minnie I believe was peach and raspberry. I remember that I really loved both, but I think my favorite was probably Mickey because the tropical fruit flavor was just really delicious. Even though it was a freezing day, we just had to get the Minnie and Mickey popsicles because they were just so delicious and cute, and yes, it was just worth it. So at the end of the day, we did a little more exploring. We checked out some more shops and bought some more Duffy and Friends merchandise. We also stopped by the Toyville Trolley Park again because it was so cool getting to see the Toy Story area all lit up. The whole park lit up at night was just so cool. It once again had that kind of like eerie adventure vibe to it, and it was just transformed at night. So after we did a little more exploring, my mom and I headed back to our hotel in Kamada so we could get up bright and early for our last day at Disneyland. Alright, so that kind of wraps up my one day at Tokyo DisneySea. I am sorry that I wasn't able to talk about more of the major attractions of Tokyo DisneySea, but I do hope that me being able to talk about my experience exploring and just enjoying the atmosphere of Tokyo DisneySea will also be able to provide some of that Tokyo DisneySea magic to you. I do really wish that the park had been less busy and I could have done more of the major attractions, but this just means that I'm gonna have to go back someday. Overall, I could definitely see why everyone was so obsessed with Tokyo DisneySea when I went. I mean, it definitely achieved the high standards that had been set for it by all the other Disney fans that I had learned from. It's just so different from Tokyo Disneyland. Like, Disneyland is of course the classic colors and Disney magic, but Tokyo DisneySea is just so adventurous and really a big achievement for Disney Imagineering. My favorite part of DisneySea overall was of course just getting to experience and be at the birthplace of the Duffy and Friends characters. My favorite land of the 7 was probably Mermaid Lagoon, but I did also really love the American Waterfront. If you haven't yet checked out my Tokyo Disneyland video, I hope that you'll be able to go and give it a watch. Tokyo Disneyland was also absolutely incredible, and I was so happy to be able to share all my experiences with you guys. If you have any questions about Tokyo DisneySea, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm always more than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as be sure to subscribe for future Disney content and adventures. Thank you all so much for watching. I wish you a magical day, and I'll see you real soon. Bye!